There's still a lot of work that needs to be done on this, but I think we're in the right direction. We certainly have a suspect that we've charged with a portion of arson crimes here, as well as some other crimes that are connected. But as you can see from the hard press release that we just put out, this has all started back on the 25th of June. It was right down the street from the Medford Mail Tribune, Miscellany Antiques at 220 North Fur was on the 25th, and actually, there's actually 23 now, and I'll speak to the 23rd, but the 24th, or excuse me, July 24th, yesterday, was the 22nd one, which was Hawthorne Park, which was a palm tree that was actually lit on fire, and there was a secondary fire discovered at Hawthorne Park as well, so we're counting the Hawthorne Park's cases as one there as well. But as you can see from what we have posted here, there's a map that identifies 22 of those fires. Like I said, there is a 23rd that I'll speak to in a minute. But yesterday at about 8:04 in the morning, we were dispatched to Hawthorne Park for a palm tree that was intentionally lit on fire. Upon arrival, we found another small fire set nearby. Those were both determined to be intentionally set. We have had the assistance of Medford Fire throughout this investigation. We'll continue to do so. And again, it's been a collaborative effort between Medford Police and Medford Fire to investigate this from now until we get conclusion on all of these. We're dependent upon Medford Fire for a lot of things. One, fire suppression and general public safety, but also for point of origin and cause. So again, there's still a lot of work to be done on that, but I can't thank Medford Fire enough for their work in this case with us side by side. But so we had 2 fires at Hawthorne Park from yesterday, and while searching that area, one of our patrol officers, Tom Sweeney, located Debra Johns. This is her Jackson County mugshot photo, because she is in custody at this time. But Debra Johns is certainly well known to us. She's lived in the Medford area for a considerable amount of time. You all can do the research on her past history. I won't speak to that, but she's not a stranger to us. We've had multiple contacts and multiple arrests with her in the past. So while he attempted to contact her, she was discarding some paper tissue from her pockets, and she was contacted and arrested. And if you look on page 2 of that hard copy, you notice that she was already wanted for outstanding warrants for failure to appear, for endangering disorderly conduct, and a contempt of court warrant. So she was wanted at the time of our initial contact, and that was her initial in-custody charges while we investigated those 2 fires at Hawthorne Park that she was a suspect in. We also had a fire the day prior at Beavertooth Oak, and if you notice that is on your list as well. But Beavertooth Oak, investigators determined that not only was there a fire, but there was an attempted break-in at that building. And again, the method of operation was consistent with the previous fires that we had Ms. Johns in custody on, and we have charged her with the arson fire at Beavertooth Oak, as well as the attempted burglary at that location, based on some forensic evidence that we recovered as well. So she's currently being charged with arson in the second degree, 2 counts. We have one at Beavertooth Oak and one at Hawthorne Park. We also have a reckless burn at Hawthorne Park, and then we have the attempted burglary at Beavertooth Oak, which is an attempted burglary second degree, and then we also have those outstanding warrants that she was originally lodged on from the initial contact. So in addition to that, there was a small fire last night that we were made aware of shortly after 6 p.m., and that's the one I want to talk about just briefly, and that's a small fire set in the women's bathroom in the lobby of the Jackson County Jail. That is more than suspicious, not only because of the type of the fire, but where the fire is set. And that was determined to have been an intentionally set fire as well, and set during the early morning hours of yesterday, July 24th, and that fire set was prior to her being arrested, and she is certainly a suspect in that case because we have information. Again, I won't speak to the type of evidence we have, but we have information to believe that she was in or about the lobby of the Jackson County Jail when that fire could have been set as well. She has not been charged with that crime yet, but certainly a suspect in that crime. And with that, I'll entertain some questions.
Are the feds still involved in this case at all?
Say that again?
The feds, ATF, or are they involved in this investigation?
Not at this point, no.
Is Johns a suspect in the other 24 fires we've seen over the past month?
Certainly a person that we're looking at strongly in the list of all these. I can't say that it's going to be all of them, but I can say that those fires that are consistent with the type of fires that we believe she's been involved in, and consistent with the type of fires that we have evidence of her participating in, yes, a majority. I can't say all, I can't say for sure, but again, this is early. We just, as of yesterday afternoon, these things started to fall into place, so here we go.
What needs to happen to connect those two?
Copycats out there because the city's responsible for a portion of those?
I don't know, because I don't know who that copycat would be. That person hasn't been identified. If we develop that information, then then it'd be a second suspect. I don't know if you can say copycat, because I don't know what they would have copied. So I'm not saying that that's the only arson suspect out there. I'm not saying that it's a one-horse town by any means, but I am saying that us and Medford Fire are looking at consistency. Humans are creatures of habit. Suspects that commit criminal acts usually have telltale signs on their method of operation. I'm not going to go into the type of evidence, not going to go into forensics, not going to go into who, what, where, and how, but I can tell you that we have consistency with this person and the type of fires that we're investigating. That's the best way to describe it.
How common is a female arson suspect?
I haven't run the numbers on that. I couldn't tell you. If you go to Jackson County Jail and look at the population of the Jackson County Jail, you're going to see that the majority of people lodged in the Jackson County Jail are males. But when you get into crime specifics, I think that breaks it down. The percentage change a bit. When you're talking about drug offenses now, I think it's across the board. I think if you're talking about certain identity theft crimes or certain fraud or forgery type crimes, it's probably across the board. Arson, I'd have to look at the numbers because I couldn't tell you.
Is there a motive or any pre-planned areas to where these fires happen? Were these like planned out?
If there is, we wouldn't speak to it now. That's certainly stuff that would become trial time.
What needs to happen next in the investigation when you're looking into the rest of the 24 some odd fires and whether she's connected to them?
Again, we're going to be attached to the hip with our colleagues at Medford Fire because there's still a lot of fire investigative work to do. Now that we have a suspect in a number of fires and we believe may be responsible for other fires that we have on our list, we're going to continue to move in that direction. So I'm not going to say we're going to put blinders on and say that's the only person that could have been responsible for all of these fires, but there's a lot of work that's going to be done now, comparison work. We have certainly some more crime lab work. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff that I'm not going to spill out here on the table right now because, like I said, and like she just said, is there another one out there? I don't know. We're going to see. We're going to look. The time span's going to help us. As far as I know, we didn't have any from last night till right now. So another chink in the link going that direction again. You look at all sorts of things. You look at when people were available, when were they in custody, when were they not in custody, when were they seen, when were they not seen, what was their availability, time, place, manner. There's just a lot of stuff, a lot of analysis, a lot of crime analytic work that has to be done from this point forward because we need to know everything about this person and where this person was and what they were doing and who they were associated with and all those kind of things that are going to take a lot of time, energy, and effort to chase.
And do you have a total for the amount of property you just destroyed, financially attached amount?
For these
Value?
in total,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that right now either. Again, that's part of the analytical work. Again, the information, we're going to have to work side by side with Medford Fire to make those individual determinations, and I'm not even sure that some of the locations have that yet, if the stuff is fairly recent. But just for example, I don't know the damage to a palm tree in Hawthorne Park, but there's not too many palm trees in Hawthorne Park, but I was told this morning that tree is probably worth $700 to $800, just the tree itself. So people that would be in the palm tree business would know more about that than me. But
How did you guys exactly determine that this was the person? Did you use the witness testimony or was it surveillance video?
well, we had information based on that Hawthorne Park information that's who our possible was. She ended up being a person that also had outstanding warrants at the time, so we had some information on the Hawthorne Park cases. And I won't mention like I said, I mentioned forensics in reference to Beavertooth Oak, but the same method of operation in that scenario as well. So again, forensically linked to her at Beavertooth Oak, but also we had some witness information on those cases from the night prior, and you guys had that descriptive information out there. And I know it was described as being a male, and someone's going to say, well, you were looking for a guy as opposed to a gal. But again, we've had cases downstream that have been described as, I can think of several robbery cases where it's been described as a male, but it's actually been a female in some kind of garbed clothing. Or people only saw the back side of an individual and described it based on their clothing that it looked like a male when it was a female. So I don't think we can rule out the gender in this one as far as the descriptions are concerned. It was certainly close enough for us to continue in that direction. We had previous information on a fellow that could have been wearing a kilt that was out there too, but But again, if you look at cases that we've had, when we've had what we call serial type cases or a string of cases, whether it's been robberies, burglaries, arsons, even assaults, if they're random, which are pretty rare, you'll see a varying difference in descriptions. I don't think you can take each individual's description. If someone ran by Ivy Street right now and y'all looked out the window and we all took your description separately in an interview room, it would vary depending on what you concentrated on and what you saw. So you gotta work through that as far as descriptive information is concerned.
It says on here that she is determined to have set the fire in the women's bathroom prior to her arrest. Has she been arrested already? How does that work? Like before she'd been arrested, she set that fire in the jail bathroom.
Well, there was certainly some time between Beavertooth Oak, Hawthorne Park, and her ability. So as far as timing, I don't have the time sequence down, but certainly she was not in custody when we believe the fire occurred in the bathroom of the county jail.
Public bathroom.
In the lobby.
Oh, the public.
It's a public bathroom.
Okay, that was the.
No. If she was in,
that was the confusion.
if she was in custody at the time of that fire, I think we'd already have that case cleared.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
When you guys apprehended her, was she combative? Did she,
She attempted to run from the officer that spotted her because that officer knew her on site. Most of the officers in MP know her on site, so she attempted to flee, but she was apprehended just in a short distance. It wasn't anything that required a whole lot of effort at that point.
and it says just north, how far north on that Bear Creek pathway was she from Hawthorne Park? Was it like a quarter mile or?
It says north of Hawthorne Park, and Mike Boudreau wrote that, so he'll have to tell me how far north that was.
It was a couple blocks north.
Okay.
And about what time was that? This was like right after the fire was reported, like an hour later, or?
The first fire was reported at shortly after 8 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that second discovery was when we got to that scene, so it would have been within 8 to 9. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, and she was contacted just within minutes of responding to the area.
Okay. Do you have I know this is a sort of speculative crystal ball kind of question, but do you have any idea of when we might know whether there will be more of these incidents attached to her?
Well, I can't give you a time frame on that. Again, a lot of it depends on the analytical work, the crime lab work, the crime scene work, the work that Medford Fire and Medford Police are going to do jointly on this. So we're just getting started. Again, investigations continue. Every time there's a fire, there's a process for Medford Fire, Medford Police, and a lot of investigative work that starts initially. But it's a game changer when you have a named suspect, because now you've got some things that you can do as far as analytical work goes. Where, like I said earlier, where this person was, what this person was doing, what their access was, what their pattern was, where that person's living, who that person's with, what the locations of those fires are, what's that method. There's all sorts of things now that are going to be occurring in addition to that initial work that was done by both Medford Fire and Medford Police. So you got a bunch of stuff now that's going to concentrate here. But again, I'll go back to Channel 10's question, is this the only one? Well, it's the one we got right now. I mean, we have a suspect charged with arson crimes, and this suspect is the person that was committing arson crimes that are very consistent with the string of arson crimes. Not all of them, but it is a consistent theme with the majority of these fires and how they were set, where they were set, and what the method is. And you got to understand arson too, that one of the problems with arson investigations is your evidence gets burned up generally. You hopefully that you get a quick enough response, and we've been very fortunate with the work that's been done on the fire side to get there quick enough to get things extinguished quick enough, and sometimes it's been by bystanders or by officers that have done that. But if you can get it out quick enough, then your crime scene evidence isn't all burned up, and that's really the key to that, because it's tough to get forensic evidence when it's destroyed. So that's part of the process as well.
Is there a total cost of damages for all of these combined?
I think that was asked previously, but no, I don't have that yet.
Can you give
That's
us a
something
sense-
that'll happen, but
Can you give us a sense of just how much effort, how much manpower was put on this case over the past month?
substantial. I mean, we're in a not only in a severe fire season because of the conditions this time of year, but you're talking about a severe public threat when you're talking about fires that are occurring in alleys up next to buildings, up next to what could be occupied residences, substantial commercial construction, that kind of stuff. I mean, it created a sense of urgency, and certainly I felt that urgency, because I'm responsible for public safety, and that is a public safety threat, and our colleagues at Medford Fire are in the same boat. So we put substantial effort in this for the past, well, since roughly the last 30 days, give or take. There's been a lot of on-duty effort, some additional overtime effort. We've had actual managers. I know that Brett's been out there, even, people up in the lieutenant, deputy chief ranks have been out there at 4 o'clock in the morning, augmenting our patrol units, putting more eyes out there looking around. We've done a huge media effort with Lieutenant Boudreau through Facebook and through normal media channels to increase that awareness. The Tribune's editorial piece was on that this morning, as far as everybody looking out their window and keep an eye on what people are doing, because if it doesn't look right, it's not, and to call us because of that threat. So it's been a substantial effort. I mean, if you were to count efforts on fire and police side for 2014, so far this is number one.